Hello, I'm Coach Houston, and I'm glad to be with you. I lead empowerment, leadership, and people solutions. We're a leadership and wellness company, and our three-prong approach or three pillars is to empower better people, stronger teams, and build championship cultures. So today, during our Q and A session, I'm going to be talking about what three questions are the top questions when it comes to Gen Zers and assimilating them into the workforce. Over the last few weeks and months, I guess I've heard a lot of people making statements regarding Gen Z as they don't get it, they don't understand. There's a lot of they almost negativity toward the group in terms of their approach. But these Gen Zers, man, they're part of the workforce. And if you're going to have a successful team, then you need to make sure that you understand how to work with these guys and gals and get them into the workforce and assimilate them in a healthy way. Gen Zers tend to focus on three things as part of their choice and where they go to work. That's connection, clarity of work day and work role and work format, and whether it's a cultural fit with them and their values. So I'm going to just answer these questions, these three areas of questions today. And if you have any questions or comments, you can always add them in the chat and we'll address them. But the first question that Gen Zers ask is, who are my collaborators and how do I connect with them? Gen Zers knowing exactly who is on their team and how to connect with them is monumental. And notice they use the word collaborate. Now, they were raised in a time and a generation where, the parents raised them to negotiate and have a dialogue and discuss. And many times the boomers, especially if there's any traditionalists left in the workforce, definitely. And us Gen Xers that may have came along with that, not so much the millennials, but us Xers, we all kind of have this, hey, you do it because I say so mentality. And that's not always right. Sometimes that is what it has to be. If it's a compliance issue, a safety issue, a potential injury situation, there are some have to. But in most cases, collaboration, uh, working it out together is a distinct possibility. And so you're going to have to learn to translate into what they're asking for. And what they're asking for in that particular situation is to be understood and to understand how the team dynamics work. And they want to know that from the start. They don't want to have to try to figure that out in that landscape on their own. That mean they won't navigate, but if you can help them in that sense of becoming a part of the community, a part of the team up front, because this is one of the things that they thrive on. That's why, not trying to be funny, that's why you see such things as flash mobs, and whether you agree or disagree, you see these protests. They can have a protest and boom, like that, there's a whole bunch of people that show up and they're ready to fight for a cause. And so they want to collaborate. They want to work together. They want to be a part of a team. And you will have to help that happen, especially if you're an HR person. You need to try to address these particular concerns up front at the beginning in the interview process, if possible. The ease of assimilation, introduce them to key teammates. A couple things you can do is introduce them to key teammates and or cross-functional partners as early as possible, and foster onboarding rituals or buddy systems to help them form their social connections. I believe they want to connect more. I believe that they want to, and there's been some studies even say that they desire that connection more than most generations. The problem is they didn't grow up with the same need for social interaction as we did. Plus, they also came through the pandemic isolation era. And so that their skill set there, not all, may need some help. So once again, introduce them to as many key team members and cross-functional team members as possible, and maybe even consider a buddy system to help them form those social connections. The second question they have is, what does a typical day look like? And is there a structure I can rely on? A couple of hidden thoughts behind that is they want to know how the day is going to flow. They want to know if they're going to be able to work remotely, whether they need to be in the office at 8 o'clock, whether they can, have flex time. Then they want to know is if they're there, is it, once I'm here until the end of the day. Is it project-based work or is it hourly? Just make sure you're clear on that. And then you also have to understand that you may have to address the situation with if they get their work done early. Remember, you may hire a Gen Zer or even a millennial and other, but they come into your workplace, and because they know how to use technology, it may take them, 85% of the time it takes someone else to do the same job. So they may end up having some flex time because they are more digital natives and they've already got the technology piece down. And they use, for instance, if it's a writing job or a communication job or a marketing job, they will use technology and AI to get their job done faster than someone who may not be as adept with that. So you need to lay out what you expect them, their day to be like. For instance, providing clarity helps reduce the anxiety and increase confidence. What you can do is share a sample of daily routine or hybrid work norms. What are the norms there? If you don't have those norms, then that's something that you need to work on as an organization and as HR. Also, clarify expectations around when they need to be available. Do they need to be available, away from the office? Or do they need to, they can turn the phone off as far as, work is concerned when they leave the office. Remote versus in office days, whether, you don't have any, you have some, it's, a per person basis, is based on the job, etc. Have that clear conversation. And then the communication norms. Do you use Messenger? Do you use text? Do you use voicemail? Do you use email? Do you use Slack? How do you all communicate? What's the preferred method? and be ready to explain that and defend that. So they're looking for clarity once again on what's the typical work day and what does it look like. The third question that they're asking, the top three questions once again, is who are we collaborating with, or who are my teammates and how do I connect with them? What's clarity around my work day and type of day? What's a typical work day look like? And is there a structure that I can rely on that's consistent? And third, what are the cultural norms here and how do I fit in? What does your company value the most is really what they're asking. And does the company's values, the company's process, product, and services line up with my values and what I want to accomplish? That's what they're asking. Belonging matters very deeply to Gen Zers. They often ask about workplace values, team characteristics, and company culture so that they know up front whether or not they're going to be a fit. It matters. They're not like the prior generations, especially the older ones, where you took a job and you expected to be in that job until you retired. They don't approach it that way. They look at it as I'm going to be here until I'm not. And I've said this in several other training times where they actually look at their pathway to their ultimate job and destination of the job they want to retire in as a lattice where they can move sideways, back and forth, up and down, versus the older generation. We tend to see a ladder versus a lattice where it's a hierarchical approach, and we can look and see how many people are in front of us and kind of guesstimate when they're going to retire. But those days don't exist anymore, especially from the Gen Z mindset. So you have to be fully aware of how you approach that. They also want to know, how are people treated? How I know that most companies go, well, we're going to treat our employees right. They're going to want details. They're going to want to know things about how promotions are handled and how discipline is handled. Be prepared to have those conversations. They want alignment with their purpose. They want your company, your vision, your values, your culture to align with them. They want to work at places that they feel like there's a greater purpose. So if you can figure out how to align your purpose and your mission and your values with theirs, you'll have a faithful, loyal employee until they're not, right? Offer candid conversations or give candid conversations about team values, norms, and how decisions get made, as much as you can share with a new employee. Also, share stories, give them real life stories and examples of collaboration, the recognition that your company does, and how your company actually lives out your values. So in wrapping up, I want to remind you once again, the three questions that Gen Zers are asking: who will I work with? What does a day in the life of this company look like? Can I rely on it? And number three, how do I fit culturally? Once again, that is collaboration or connection, clarity around roles, and cultural fit. Why these questions are so important to Gen Zers, just want to give you three quick things. One is many of them entered the workforce during the pandemic or post-pandemic, so they missed the traditional onboarding, and they've been raised in this digital social media world where likes are a button and a click, and so they need help. They really need help in making that connection. They often crave clarity and structure and meaningful connection over the vague hierarchical thing, because they've not seen companies be loyal to their parents, to their friends or family, and they don't have a pension plan that locks them in. So they're likely to move, but that's not just because they want to move. They do that because they don't know that the trust and the connection and the loyalty comes back from the company to them. And third, I think they're a misunderstood generation, partly because of the way we as adults have raised them. They get blamed for not having a lot of passion or a lack of commitment. I think it's the opposite. They just are passionate and committed to things that may be different than what we are. And some of those things we may, as older people, may not be in agreement with. So we have to understand, though, that they are a passionate generation, that they love connectivity, they love having purpose, they are data driven, but they also are digital natives. In other words, they've never had a time in their life where they didn't have a cell phone and computers and all of this stuff and access to AI. That's all they know in the workspace. And if you don't do the right things to incorporate that into the life, then you're going to miss them to some degree. And they are values focused. Like I said, you may disagree with their values, but they are value focused. So make sure you clarify your values with them. And if it's not a fit, then hey, it's not a fit. But if it's a fit, you can look for them to be a good employee. They're not seeking a job, but they're seeking a place where they feel like they can contribute and belong. Wrapping things up, if you're supporting Gen Z in terms of them coming into your workforce, look at building these things into your onboarding process. Maybe create a meet the team profile or activity, or some type of informal intros where they get a chance, whether it is you providing them with a list or you actually have people come through and introduce themselves so that you can begin that connection process. Number 2 is try to develop a typical day guide or work style expectations that's clearly communicated to Gen Zers. And then the third thing is encourage open cultural dialogue around values and norms and purpose and core values and what makes your organization unique in its approach. Not just the product you provide or the service you provide, but the difference you make in the community. These steps not only answer their top concerns, and that's why I'm sharing this, is these are the top concerns that Gen Zers have when they're coming to your workplace. If you're not addressing them and they join your team, then you're going to see friction rise up in the organization as a result of not addressing these. And then you're going to have some friction issues that you're going to need some friction zone management to take care of. But if you provide this, it's going to help foster engagement. It's going to help foster clarity. It's going to help foster belonging, and it's going to help foster team cohesion. So all these things are valuable input that will help you become the best version of yourself, but it will also help your company, your new Gen Zers, become a contributing, tied in part of your organization. Please let me know if you'd like some help crafting any of these onboarding templates or ideas or questions that I could help you with. I would love to talk with you more. If you want to find out more about this particular topic, Gen Zers, or our friction zone management, our impact leadership model, or our team building application and personality, behavioral assessment, talent assessment offerings that we have here at Empowerment, Leadership, and People Solutions, I'd love to speak with you. You can always email me, martin@martinhouston.org. You can visit the website at martinhouston.org/book me and request an appointment, or you can call 205-826-1381 or text that same number. Looking forward to working with you in the future. If you have any questions, comments about this, please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm Coach Houston with Empowerment, Leadership, and People Solutions, and glad to have been with you today.